Hello, I'm delighted to be able to introduce to you our new MA in philosophy at the University of Galway. We are replacing a previous MA, an MA in Values and Knowledge, with a new one, which will have its first intake in September 2023, so September of next year. And in this MA, we are trying to not alone give you an advanced knowledge in philosophy, but also show how philosophy is relevant to the contemporary world, not just relevant, but indeed crucially gives us concepts, gives us ideas, gives us ways of reasoning and thinking, which are of importance and significance within the world in which we exist today. So let me, if you will bear with me, share with you my screen here. And so my name is Felix Omoruhu. I'm a professor of philosophy at the University of Galway. And so let me just take a few minutes to bring you through our program. As I say, what we're striving to do is have an MA program which is vigorous, is rooted within the history of philosophy, the best in philosophical thinking, and is also engaged with the world we live in today. And we're doing this through two streams, three streams which we think, first of all, streams in which we have expertise within the University of Galway, but also that are of particular relevance, we think, in the world today. And those streams are public and polite philosophy on the one hand, and post-Kantian European philosophy on the other. So let me bring you through both. Public and polite philosophy. So philosophy as having an engagement within the public space, within the world which we live, understood in terms of politics, understood in terms of society, in terms of economics, and so on. And for next academic year, we'll be offering three distinct modules in this area. Ethics and artificial intelligence, we're looking at the growth of artificial intelligence becoming part of our everyday lives, and thinking about that in terms of the two kind of, I guess, extremes of optimism, of kind of like understanding this as like an unalloyed good on the one hand and deep suspicion on the other. And so thinking about issues of privacy, thinking about issues of trust, of surveillance, but also our value-sensitive design within artificial intelligence. Public philosophy and civic education. Here we draw on a particular strength we have in P4C, or philosophy for children, which is a pedagogy that came from the United States, but a pedagogy that allows us to facilitate philosophical thinking and discussion among children. And we have arrangements with primary schools in Galway where students, we instruct our students in the pedagogy. They go out to apply this and to work with children, primary school children, in such thinking and such discussion. Political values in the modern world, thinking about issues of freedom, of justice, and so on, and how these kind of have worked their way through the different political concepts and the political structures within our modern world, and having particular thoughts on, obviously, the problem of democracy. What is a democratic state, what justifies a democratic state, and what would be how issues of freedom and justice are relevant to understanding democracy today. Post-Kantian European philosophy, so basically philosophy from Kant onwards, 19th century right up to today, so looking at people like Kant himself, obviously, Fichte, Hegel, Schelling, Nietzsche, Heidegger, Levinas, Merleau-Ponty, right up to the new materialism philosophies of today. And within that context, we're offering next year these modules, Knowledge and Value in Modernity, looking at issues of knowledge and values, how they get transformed from Hume to Kant and on to onto Nietzsche. Phenomenology of emotion, looking at emotion from a phenomenological point of view, so looking at it in terms of Husserl, Heidegger, but also other phenomenologists, and thinking about the relation between emotion and reason. And lastly, philosophy of nature and technology, looking at the ways in which we conceive of nature, how our technologies intervene within and almost inevitably intervene within the natural world, but as we're seeing today, how that is not a one-way street, how that has a feedback dynamic, which we're seeing within, particularly within the context of the climate crisis today. So those modules are ones that are looking at broad philosophical issues, fundamental concepts, but concepts of fundamental significance when thinking about issues of climate change, thinking about issues of democracy, particularly in relation to the war in Ukraine at the moment, thinking about technologies. You only have to look at the papers to see the debates about Twitter and control of free speech within that context. And so these are kind of, in terms of our contemporary world, these are the issues that we will be trying to think about, but as I say, think about within the context of these philosophical concepts and ideas and discussions. So the structure is such that there are those modules, those are all optional modules. There's also the possibility of self-directed learning, so you can discuss with one of us, one of the members of staff, an issue that would be of interest to you, say something in bioethics, for example. You might have some issue, some question in terms of, or some interest in terms of some issues within bioethics, or indeed, let's say, thinking about the new materialisms of today, trying to get a deeper knowledge of that. And so you would then come to one of us, we would discuss a reading list and work with you in developing an essay, a research essay on such a topic. There's also a choice of modules in other MA programs. So we're in discussions with other MA programs to make available to our students the modules within areas that would be relevant and significant for you. So you can, in doing our MA, you can also get a taste of other MA programs within the College of Arts. We have a module on research methods, so we try to kind of give you the skills in terms of doing research. We have a philosophy seminar where we work with you to give presentations and engage in discussions with other postgraduate students and indeed visiting lecturers in discussing philosophical ideas. And of course, then you have a dissertation at the end of the year. So this MA you can do either full-time over 1 year or part-time over 2 years. If you're doing it full-time, your dissertation basically will be in the summer of that year, where the closing date, the submission date, sometime in mid-August. If you're doing it part-time, if you're doing this part-time, then you will do most but not all of your modules in the first year, and then the remaining modules and the dissertation in the second year. So in terms of mandatory modules, these are mandatory. Research methods, philosophy seminar, and the dissertation are mandatory. So they are worth in total 40 ECTS, or 40 credits within your MA out of 90. So there's 50 credits are optional, 40 are mandatory. But you might ask, okay, why do an MA in philosophy at all? And so let me quickly just go through some of the skills, because philosophy is one of those areas, one of those disciplines that teaches you skills that are relevant across the board, irrespective of what kind of profession, what kind of job you want to go into. So let me just briefly kind of outline that for you. So one of the key skills we give you is the critique of key concepts and debate in cutting edge philosophy. So interpretive skills. Right? And this is the capacity to kind of read a philosophical text deeply, to see how the arguments are linked together, see how inferences are made, and how implications are drawn. And this is a skill which is obviously important in understanding of philosophical text, but important more generally. You know, in no matter what profession you go into, you will be required to interpret some type of information, and this is a skill which is really important in doing that. Critically reason through identifying the general principles and connect problems and evaluate strengths and weaknesses of arguments. And this is important, this critical reasoning, both in terms of your own reasoning, but obviously also in the reasoning of others. You know, so in engaging with colleagues, to be able to marshal your arguments in a way that is sound, that's cogent, but also be able to recognize when that is being done by colleagues, and also when it is not being done by colleagues. So that capacity to critically reason and critically engage. Employ philosophical concepts and ideas in analyzing fundamental issues in the world today. And that's analytical skill is again crucial to doing philosophy, but crucial in so many different domains. You know, that you're able to analyze what is at stake, be able to get to the roots of what's at stake, and from that be able to find suggestions of possible courses of action. Our seminars are all discussion based, you know. I mean, so it's all about interaction. There's no lecturing in this MA, right? We have week to week something to read, and expect that you'll bring, you know, as much to the table as the lecturer in discussing these texts. And so it's really crucial then that you develop the capacity to communicate well and effectively, and that's something we seek to help you develop. And looking at problems from a diverse point of view. And again, that's philosophy is really good at that, right? Because in writing a philosophical essay, or indeed reading a philosophical text, it's always important to say, well, okay, but what about the other point of view? What about the contrary position, or a somewhat different position? How does that work? And this is really crucial, not just in philosophy, but in all walks of life. Think of just as a contemporary debate at the moment in Galway that seems to have been going on forever, the debate about the bypass, whether there should be a bypass road around Galway. Yeah, I mean, why is there an amount of debate? Well, because there's diverse opinions. There's those coming from a strongly ecological argument. There's those coming from a car ownership argument. Those coming from the point of view that we need better public transport. And all of these are kind of are not just diverse arguments, but are employing different concepts and coming from different assumptions. And one of the skills we try to develop in philosophy is the capacity to evaluate that, but also then to mediate between such diverse points of view. Just to give you some more, the facility with arguments, so building complex arguments is important. To articulate the transformational value of philosophical thought. So we're not just teaching you how to understand, but also to think about how the concepts and ideas that you get in philosophy can have transformational value in the world in which we are. Develop an understanding of relevant philosophical thought in diverse areas of public life, and identifying a problem and formulated questions relevant to clarifying an issue or set of issues. And so that's really, it's that capacity to identify the problem and then be able to respond to it is something that's crucial in philosophy, and as I say, is a skill that is important beyond the philosophical seminar. Okay, so those are the kind of whistle-stop tour, but those are kind of some of the crucial kind of skills that philosophy helps you to develop, the skills which are, as we say, are transferable, are relevant beyond the philosophy itself. And in the spirit of that, we are open to and very, very welcoming of students who do not have a straight philosophy background. Now, we will need to see a qualification in a cognate area, so, in politics, sociology, psychology, languages, IT, history, and that's not an exhaustive list, but those are just to give you an indication. It's more an indicative list of the types of areas we're thinking about. And so if you are interested in doing this MA and you do come not from a philosophy background, from another, please do contact us, do contact me, and we can discuss the extent to which that area is that you have the qualification in is cognate enough to give you because obviously you need a certain there's certain preconditions you need to come into this MA, and so we need to make sure about that. But again, I would encourage you, if you are coming from these areas or areas that you think may be cognate to philosophy, to please do reach out and contact us to discuss that. So in terms of contact, I'm directing this program, so you've got my email address up there. You can also follow us on our homepage and on Facebook, and we have a Twitter account specifically for this MA, which is there in front of you. So I hope this has been informative and been of interest to you. And if you do have an interest in doing this MA, please do contact us. We'd really very much love to hear from you. Okay, well, thank you and goodbye.